On the left-hand side of your screen, there's yellow trim on her Lincoln Mercury product, roaring out of the pack down the front stretch. She goes by Durhag, goes by Gentilossi, and Mark Pielsticker.
Mark Pielsticker from Oakland, California, and the Performance Plus Camaro has crashed. It's like he encountered a dirt bank, and that's in turn number 1.
Yeah, right at the end of that long front stretch, Bob, there's a nice runoff area, and Mark has skated over the entirety of it. There's about 30 yards of gravel out there. Mark had a good run at it, and that's a terminal problem. One of the fastest cars on the straightaways, if not the fastest this weekend.
That gravel, of course, designed to slow the car down before hitting any kind of a barrier. Back with more Trans Am race from Road America in Elkhart, Lake, Wisconsin. More than halfway through this race, Jim Durhag, who is right behind Gentilossi, and in fact pulls right up on his rear bumper at some times. Durhag is one of those who is right up there in the point standings. He is tied with Les Lindley, the leader of this race, for second. Now let's watch here on the straightaway. Perhaps Durhag can make a move. No, instead it appears that Gentilossi pulls away just a little bit.
Oh, that Tornado, that turbo kicks in on the big V8. And Durhag, who is laboring up the hill there, also with a V8, but he doesn't have that extra turbo kick to propel him. But look at Durhag. He makes a very good turn number 1. Durhag gets the line coming out of turn number 1. As they approach turn number 3, Durhag's got the line. A good driving job by Jim.
And so Durhag moves up a position, and that puts him in the 5th position at the moment.
You know what they'll tell you on a road course, it's not so important how you enter a turn, it's the exit speed, and that was a great example that Jim Durhag just turned in. Bob, we're going to go back up front and look at Les Lindley, and he's been bringing his lap times down. Apparently he has been doing good in the category of not abusing the tires, because as the fuel load lessens, the car gets overall lighter. Lindley is picking up steam. He's now down in the 217s. The lap record is about at 217, so Lindley is approaching that.
So Halhuber is in second, but has quite a bit of distance between himself and the leader. Let's go to Gary Lee.
Well, let's once again address the tire situation, and if that will play in strategy. We were talking to Jack Roush about the strategy right now for Pete Halhuber. Halhuber does not have a radio on board. Jack Roush says we're racing. We're going as fast as we can. We're not holding back, but there may be something wrong with the car. But we don't know that because the car is heavy as it is now. We do not want to use the added weight that it would take to have an onboard radio. So we're using the old pit board signal signs. They don't know if there may be something wrong with the car. But as far as the tires, we know for a fact that Pete has a very hard compound, so the race could come back to him. We're not so sure right now on Les Lindley. He's not abusing the tires, apparently, according to the lap times, but he may have started the race on a softer tire. If that's the case, Pete may have the race come back to him as we near the finish.
And we've still got 10 more laps to go, and you would think that on a course of the size of this, a radio would be almost essential because it's 4 miles around here, and there's a long distance between the time you see the pit board and the next time you see the pit board. Now, Pete Halhuber is the defending champion of this race. He won with a turbo here last year and really began Lincoln Mercury's run for the Manufacturers' Championship. Of course, they're well ahead in the point standings this year. We've completed 14 of 25 laps here at Road America in the SCCA Bendix Trans Am. And where Les Lindley has just a slight advantage now over Pete Halhuber. The interval only a few car lengths. Just a couple of laps ago, it was over 1 second. So Halhuber may be closing in and in a challenging position soon to Les Lindley, who has led this race since the second lap.
Look at the turbo power. Apparently we say that because there are more horsepowers underneath the hood of that Turbo Mercure than under the V6 of Les Lindley. Theoretically, Les should be able to squirt around the corners in the S sections of this racetrack quicker than with Pete Halhuber. 500 horsepower versus, is it 230, 240, 250? Can Halhuber get him at the end of the straightaway? Halhuber appears to be setting him up. No, not quite enough time this time. Now, the key for Pete Halhuber will be to stay as close as he can to the curvy sections of the racetrack. He's got one more downhill straightaway coming after 2 turns. This is the second of those 2 right-handers. They'll go downhill now. Halhuber will see if he can get close as they go downhill, then through the S section of the track.
Should Les Lindley hold off and win this race here, it will break the Mercure Porsche wins this year, the win streak that these two have. The last time a Camaro won was at Sears Point last year, but Lindley has looked very strong in that Camaro in this race.
Bob, the race's fastest lap record was, yes, I said was, 2 minutes, 17 seconds and small change. I described it earlier. It was set by Pete Halhuber last year. Les Lindley is creeping down. He was at 2:18, then 2:17.8, then 2:17.4, 2:17.3. But while all this has been going on, EFR has returned to the racetrack. He has the brand new race fastest lap record at 2:16.9. So despite being lapped down, the Porsche is showing its power.
And you begin to wonder whether or not Pete Halhuber is using the full boost on this car, whether he's just biding his time. We've still got 6 more laps to go. So it could be he'll turn the wick up on that turbocharger here in the next couple of laps and perhaps leave less in his wake. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But in any case, it's been a strong performance by Les Lindley so far today.
Yeah, you mentioned 6 laps, but just multiply that by 2 in your head, because most racetracks are in the vicinity of 2 miles long. We're 4 miles around here at Elkhart Lake. So 6 laps is 24 miles, almost a quarter of this race.
And Deborah Gregg in car number 4 has moved into 3rd position. Good performance by Deborah. Right behind her is the 65 car of Dick Danielson. So Deborah Gregg has one of those Roush-prepared cars now in the 3rd position. Of course, Halhuber, her teammate, in 2nd.
Boy, she has had a good day. She's been as fast here on lap number 817, 18 as she was at the drop of the green flag. And just to show everybody that I guess Jack Roush can prepare more than Mercur's, this is a Capri that Greg is in.
Now Pete Halhuber once again is within a few feet or car lengths of Les Lindley as we're working lap number 20 of this 25-lap race.
Bob, I don't think that we can even begin to describe the difference in emotions between Les Lindley and Pete Halhuber. Les Lindley has never won one of these races. Pete Halhuber has driven everything, including Indianapolis cars, and almost won in an Indianapolis car race. Pete Halhuber definitely has the emotional edge, and Les Lindley is a much cooler cucumber than all of us suspect. Now, he's got a lot of experience in this type of racing, so he certainly knows Trans Am racing, but he would very much like to sneak in that first career win.
Pete Halhuber already this year. But as Larry mentioned, Les Lindley has never won in this series. Now, Pete is trailing and at times appears to be in a position to strike and move into the lead, but so far that has just not happened. This is one of the most demanding race courses on brakes. Here is a quick fact. Quick Facts are brought to you by New Quaker State with QSX. Keeps your engine cleaner to last longer.
For many years, road racers have utilized air to cool the brakes. Now it's a combination of air and water. They carry on board about 5 gallons of water. Some small pumps will circulate that water through the lines to the rear brakes and down to the front brakes. The water is dumped off right here in the air intake, giving that mixture up against the rotor. Now, just the air would keep the brakes at about 1,200 degrees, but a combination of air and water will cool the brakes to about 1,000 degrees.
The leaders once again, Les Lindley and Pete Halhuber. 20 laps are completed, 5 more to go, and they are approaching slower traffic, which could very definitely play a factor in this race as we go through the last 5 laps. There you can see Lindley weaving his way through. Halhuber now to the inside, passing a slower car. He gets through okay.
They each got through as efficiently as the other hot knife through the butter, but Halhuber did not have to deviate his line quite as much as Lindley did. Doesn't seem like either one of them gained or lost much of an advantage, but something to keep in mind. Les just didn't have the cars that he was lapping set up properly as he came down the front stretch. He's held up right now momentarily.
He's being held up momentarily, although he's going to get by now by the number 39 car driven by Craig Schaefer from Somerset, Pennsylvania. But he passes him easily, and now